teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening from the field of science, commerce, arts, engineering. I am Rakesh from USA. Heartily, cordially welcome all of you. Today, our present scholars and learners, those who are studying language, literature and grammar. It is really knowledgeable, informative, instructive and directive lesson for the learners. Language and literature. Language is central to all human activity, and all literature is also manifested in and through language. All our individuals and social activities are possible through language. Just a wait, please. Thank you. All our individual and social activities are possible through language, because language functions as a powerful tool and symbol of or for the representation of reality. We need to understand the difference between language and the actual objects or events of actual life. We need to understand the difference between language and the actual objects or events of actual life. For example, the word tree consists of three sounds: t, r and long vowel as denoted by e. The tree as equal physical object is part of the word. So we have the sign tree and the actual object of the tree. When the sign, which is born out of use in society, gets associated with the object for its users, then the sign can be said to have meaning. This is how meanings get associated to spoken words, and we begin to call them words, and the larger units as sentences, etc. Language is a versatile medium of communication. It is used for all kinds of human communication. In gossip, in commercial transactions, in political persuasion, in scientific reports, in advertisement, and in literature, etc. If we classify the above into two groups, very good morning. Good morning, students. That is non-literary and literary language. Then can we distinguish between the two varieties of language? The answer may be provided on the basis of these following reasons. Firstly, the non-literary or the ordinary or practical language can be said to be used in carrying on the practicalities of everyday life. Literary language, on the other hand, does not use language in real day-to-day situations. Literary language may be like or analogues to ordinary language as in novels or dramas, but it does not carry forward the actual happenings between real people, such as meeting, praising, giving a loan, making a transaction, teaching a class, etc. In this sense, literary language can be said to be a historical. Secondly, literary language can be seen to deviate structurally from the ordinary language in many ways. Many scholars believe that literary writers have a subtle experience to communicate, and since ordinary language is unable to meet their requirements, they resort to patterning or distorting the language forms or structures for aesthetic purposes. By aesthetics, we mean the pleasure that one derives from the observation of an object by itself. This joy is not related to any practical use of language. For example, Roman Jacobson, Linguistics and Poetics, a closing statement in T.A. Seabock, which MIT Press, cites an example where a lady says, "I like EK." When someone asked why she didn't say EK for me and I like Eisenhower, President Eisenhower of USA was known as EK, she replied that the expression she used has a pleasure of its own. Similar is the case of all literary language. Literary language creates meaning by using language in both conventional and non-conventional ways. The conventional or the literal use of language gives us known meanings of words, whereas the unconventional or literary language creates new meanings through forms like the metaphor, etc. Language as a medium of communication functions mainly through two models, that are spoken and the written. We use the spoken medium in our daily communication and the written medium in all our writings and readings. Officials or otherwise, these two modes have some significant differences. We speak and listen to speech, so vocal and auditory systems are used. In writing, we write and read what is written, and hence it involves our visual capacity. In speech, speech is transient, for it dissipates in air after it is spoken. In writing, writing can be presented as record. Speech has different degrees of pauses, and it uses intonation, contours for statements, questions, special forks, etc. Writing exploits punctuations to give a rhythm of language, and also we can have diagrams, graphs, charts and equations in writing. In speech, speaker and hearer are generally close, and here there is greater integration between the two. In writing generally involves some distances between the writer and the reader, and hence it involves a distance between the interlocutors. While in speech, since the interlocutors are present, which is ensured, which is assumed, resulting in utterances which are grammatically incomplete. In writing, due to distance, writing generally is more grammatically complete. Although the two are different modes of language, but they are not entirely exclusive. That are, we can find elements of speech in written dialogues, as in novels and dramas, or even have the written form in speech, as in the news broadcast or telecast over the radio or TV. All dramas, plays are constructed on the pattern of oral speech. Dialogues. Dialogues in drama function at two levels. The diagram shows that the playwright addresses the audience or reader through constructed dialogues at one level, and at another level it is the characters within the play that are shown to interact with one another. All dialogues get meaning from the created physical context and the personal context. By physical context, we mean creation of environments like home, workplace, etc. And the personal context encompasses social status and groups, memberships by virtue of which characters speak. About dialogues, you will learn more in later blocks. In writing, we generally come across two varieties of speech: the direct speech and the indirect speech. Indirect speech, we have the reporting verb, which can be different from the tense of the reported speech in inverted commas. The indirect speech changes the pronunciation, changes the pronouns, the adverbs of time, and the tense of the reported speech, etc. In novels and short stories, we find a third variety called the free indirect discourse. The FID combines elements from both the direct speech and the indirect speech, and it functions to present a stream of consciousness, that is the above sentences are being rendered, she would be there tomorrow. Here the adverb tomorrow has the form as in the direct speech, and the phrase she would has in this indirect speech added the higher reporting verb as she did is missing. Literal versus metaphorical meaning. In English, as in most other languages, a word is used in more than one sense or shade of meaning. The original sense in which a word is used in its literal meaning. For example, in the sentence, a dog is man's best friend. The word dog is used in its literal sense to refer to a particular animal. But if we call a person a dog to mean that he is worthless, evil person, we are extending the meaning of the word. Similarly, in the sentence, the dog always barks at the postman. The verb bark is used in its literal sense. But when we say to a person, don't bark like that, hurry, to refer to the sharp and loud sound he is making, we have extended the meaning of bark. This kind of extension is called a metaphor. A metaphor is the use of a phrase which describes one thing by stating another, with which it can be compared. In units 1 to 2, we shall discuss the different ways in which words get their meanings extended. Take this sentence, you should comb your hair more often. The word comb is used here in its literal sense. We are asking this person to tidy, clean, straighten or arrange his hair with a comb. But if we say the police combed the forest for the missing box, we are using the word comb to mean search thoroughly. This is an extension of meaning. Just as the comb goes through the hair to clean and tidy it, so the police search the forest to find the boy. By using a word in its extended sense, we help to make concrete the idea we are trying to convey. For instance, in the second sentence above, it becomes easier for the reader or listener to visualize or see in his mind what the police are doing. Their thoroughness in searching the forest becomes vivid. Dear friends, you are listening. Extension of meaning from a concrete object to an abstract idea. The meaning of a word may be transferred or extended from a concrete object which we can feel and see to an abstract idea. This helps to make the idea vivid. It becomes easier to see the idea or visualize it in concrete terms with the help of a word picture. Take this example. His knowledge of history was getting rusty. The usual association of the word rusty is with things made of iron which get covered with rust, that is a rusty box, rusty nails, etc. When iron and some other metals are exposed to water and air, a reddish brown surface forms on them. This is called rust. So rusty nails are nails covered with rust. They have lost their brightness because they have been lying unused for a long time. This idea of things getting rusted has been transferred to one's knowledge of a subject to mean that it is mostly forgotten because it has not been used for a long time. Dear friends, you are listening how to use fundamentally and factly words and sentences of the English grammar. Grammatically, if we try to expose and try to patronize the real structure of the language emotionally and intellectually, it brings a lot of information and instructions correctly to our mind, living to non-living and vice versa. When we describe non-living objects or things as if they had animals or human qualities and feelings, we personify them, we transfer qualities or things usually associated with living beings to non-living things. This helps us to picture things and objects more clearly in our imagination. For example, one leg of the table was broken. The hands of the clock have stopped. The mouth of the cave was blocked by a big stone. The pencil screeched. Usually the word crooked is usually to describe a rod or a stick. That is, one which is not straight but is twisted and bent. Similarly, a crooked person is one who is dishonest, that is, not straight in his dealings. Animal to human and vice versa. What is the extension here? A chameleon is a small lizard that can change its color to match the color of the background. In this way, it can hide itself from its enemies. When a man is called a chameleon, the quality of changing the color to protect oneself is transferred from the animal to man. The man may keep changing his behavior and statements to suit his own interest. Here is an exercise to revise what you have done before. Extension by magnification. Often writers use words associated with grand or sublime ideas or objects to ordinary ideas or objects. The effect is one of humor or light-heartedness. It also helps to highlight the importance of something. For example, I adore ice cream. One may adore a person, that is, worship him as God. In the sentence given here, the word adore shows the great liking I have for ice cream. It also indicates the light-hearted treatment of the subject. What R.K. Narayan has written in my days. Filling up a bronze water pot, a bucket and a watering can by turns, my grandmother transported water from a tap at the backyard impartially to all her plants, and finally through a brass syringes shot into the air, a grand column of water which would descend like a gift from the heavens on the whole garden, dampening down the mud and stirring up an earthy smell. The foliage glittering in the sun like finely cut diamonds as water dripped off their edges. The peacock busily kept pace with us as we moved up and down bearing the water pots. Went ashore of water described. The peacock fanned out its tail parading its color. There are different type of words and grammar that we are using while writing, reading, listening and speaking of English correctly, accurately, naturally. One reason why your vocabulary may be poor is that you know only one of the many things of a word. This has two disadvantages. First, your overall comprehension of a passage of prose or a poem may be poor because you are not able to grasp the meanings of words from the context. Second, with only a few of the meanings of a word known to you, your writing may also be poor. In this unit, we shall deal with words that have a number of meanings, usually related in some way. In the next unit, we shall deal with words which may be spelled and pronounced in the same way, but which are entirely different words with different meanings. In these two units, we shall now deal with all the possible meanings of a word. For example, we may leave out some of the colloquial expressions, that is, those used in a familiar conversation but not in formal writing. We shall also leave out slang, that is, expressions that are not usually acceptable in serious speech or writing. For example, bread for money. Multiple meanings and extended meanings compared. You saw how a word could be used in a number of extended meanings. Such extension of the meaning of words can be unlimited, as they will depend on the writer's imagination and the number of different situations dealt with. For example, word light can be used as a noun with different meanings. We don't get any sunlight here. Please throw some light on this matter. Buddha was the light of Asia. As soon as these questions are allowed to come into the light of day and be examined in a rational spirit, it becomes very difficult to resist the claims of justice. In these sentences, light is used in its literal sense, but in the other sentence, it is used in its extended senses. There can be many more ways of extending the figurative use of this word, but through the extended sense are unlimited. The literal meanings of a word are limited. We shall use the term multiple meanings to refer to the various literal meanings of a word. For example, light used an adjective. Our baggage is light. He has been assigned very light duties. Even though the meanings of light above are in some way related to each of, they are in fact used in different contexts. There may be some more meanings of this word. Your dictionary will give them related multiple meanings. We said a word could have a number of literal meanings which were usually related in some way. For example, bearer. A person who bears or carries, for example, the bearer of this letter. A person who holds a check for the payment of money to himself. For example, the instruction on the check, pay or bearer the sum of. In Indian English, the word is also used for a male servant, particularly one who serves food. All these meanings have a common element in the sense that the person carries something, but the different meanings are associated with different contexts. Here are some more examples. Cap, a type of covering for the head. One meaning, a type of covering for the head. Second one is a cover for the end or top of an object. For example, put the cap back on the bottle. In both cases, the cap is used to cover something. Next word is fly in the form of verb. One meaning, move through the air by means of wings. For example, most birds and some insects fly. Second meaning is control an aircraft in flight. For example, he was the first man to fly that type of aircraft. The common element in movement through the air. Nursery. One meaning is a place where small children are taken care of while their parents are at work, shopping, etc. Second meaning is an area where plants and trees are grown to be sold or planted in other places. Multiple meanings of a word used as the same part of speech. When a word has multiple meanings, even when used as the same part of speech, we can make out the meaning from the context in the sentence or in a passage. The meaning usually relates to a particular situation in life. For example, key. As a noun, around his neck he bore the key of this box. Thumbs hardly, midnight on the Great Western, an instrument for locking or unlocking a door, box, etc. Second meaning in the form of noun is at the end of the unit there is a key to the exercises, something that explains or answers. Third meaning as a noun of this word is the keys of the typewriter are jammed. The parts of the typewriter that are pressed down to produce the impression of the letters are signed on paper. Fourth meaning as a noun is he sang it in a wrong key, set of musical notes. The word key may have multiple meanings even when used as a verb. For example, one meaning as a verb is the sitar has to be keyed properly to produce the correct. Second one is this factory is keyed to produce goods for the army. In all the multiple meanings of the word key, 4 as nouns and 2 as verbs, there is a common element. That is, the meanings are slightly related. In all these cases, the word refers to an instrument or device to gain the desired result. As a noun, in one sense, the key unlocks a box. In second sense, it gives the answers to the exercises. In third sense, the keys operate a typewriter. In fourth sense, the word refers to a set of notes that make a tune. As a verb, in one sense it refers to the adjustment of the tension of the strings of an instrument. Second, as a verb, its meaning is it refers to the adjustments in a factory that a particular purpose. Abstract and concrete meanings. Sometimes a word refers to both abstract and concrete things. For example, we are going to put him in spirit. Khushwant Singh, the mark of Vishnu. Concrete, methylated spirits used for preserving insects, etc. The spirit leaves the body after death. Its abstract is soul. Phrasal verbs. In this section, we shall deal with verbs which acquire new meanings by the addition of an adverb and or a preposition. Such combinations are called phrasal verbs. For example, the verb fat can form the following phrasal verbs by an addition of different adverbs and or prepositions. One is Let's take up this matter with the principle. First is verb, then adverb. Second is don't be taken in by the false promises he makes. Third one, the child took to music like a duck to water. Third is the government has taken over the coal mines. Fifth is the plane took off to the skies. And sixth is don't miss him for a fool. A word used as different parts of speech. You saw in the previous sections that a word could have a number of meanings with some common element in them. Sometimes a word can be used as different parts of speech, that is, with different grammatical functions, for example, both as a noun and a verb. Noun and verb. In this section, we saw that a word like could have two or more meanings related in some way, or even when it was used as the same part of speech. We shall now deal with words which have different meanings as noun and verbs, but still related in some way. Some samples are given here. Part in the form of noun. Parts of this noun are beautiful. In the form of verb, here are wasted 10 minutes every day before a huge mirror watching myself arranging my tie and parting my hair in the correct fashion. M.K. Gandhi, an autobiography separating along a line with a comma. Charm in the form of noun and settled in a like charm. Anita Desai, a devoted son, a magic spell. In the form of verb, she can charm you with her smile. Please win over. Couple in the form of noun, a couple of years before the historic Salt March to Dandi, he had once got ready precisely at the scheduled time to set out on foot. Pyare Lal, one perfect act. In the form of verb, the train will be ready to leave when all the carriages have been coupled. Noun and adjective. You have seen that a word can be used both as a noun and a verb, and thus have different meanings. Now we shall consider words which can be used as nouns and adjectives. Take these examples: kind as a noun, an offering of a cash, and head. In the form of adjective, it is well to be kind to the poor. Dear friends, it is really valuable time that you are spending in listening English grammar, language and literature. These words, thoughts, ideas that you are listening, reading and writing, it will help you really in extending your knowledge, information, instruction, direction regarding the language, use of different type of text. Thanks listeners and others, those who are listening carefully, and especially those students, those who are going to appear in examination in the near future. Really it will help them in getting high score in their examination. Thanks dear brothers and sisters. Nice to see all of you. Thanks.